Recently, Verizon had to use tiny red balls to try to make you think they had a much better network than Sprint. But there's one big thing they left out. The new Sprint LTE Plus network delivers faster download speeds than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. While Verizon seems to be focused on tiny balls, Sprint has been obsessively focused on building the network of the future. And to celebrate, Sprint is cutting their rates in half. Switch to Sprint and save 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile rates. You get the new Sprint LTE Plus network with faster download speeds than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And we'll even cover your cost to switch, up to $650 per line. Only from Sprint. Better for less.
Claim based on Sprint's analysis of average LTE download speeds using Nielsen and MP data. Speeds may vary. Offer coverage not available everywhere. Excludes taxes, surcharges, add-on, and premium content. Subject to new line port activation fee and credit. See website for eligible plans. Savings through 1/8/18 after pay full amount. Restrictions apply. Buy up your reward card after online registration and phone turn-in.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Empower Half Hour. Say what you want to say. This is a call-in discussion. Please join us. Our number is 646-200-0848. Tonight's topic is work life and personal life balance. Should they mix? This is a really great topic to discuss because so many friendships develop at work, and we need to know how we should handle this. So either join our discussion or just call in and listen. We'd love to hear from you. Joining me this evening, let me just see someone else is on the wire. Okay. Joining me this evening is Gina Lalo. She's a member of the Time to Play team, contributing business, positivity, teamwork, and community service. She's a successful local realtor who develops sincere relationships with her clients just based on her vivacious and integrous style. And, you know, just for an example, tonight at the last minute, I asked her to jump in with me. My host had to work, and Doreen and Jackie are away. So what a team player. She jumped right in. I can't thank her enough. She's got young children. So we'll try to keep it to a half hour tonight. And just to let you know, Gina is also hosting a fundraising event for the Time to Play Foundation with her Business Brunch Alliance on Wednesday, March 9th. It will be at the Holiday Inn in Stony Brook. So please join us. It will be from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And for more information, you can contact Gina at 631-335-7078 or Doreen Guma at the Time to Play Foundation at 631-331-2675. And our phone number is also on our website. We can be logged on through timetoplay.com or the enjoylifecommunityproject.org. And as usual, I'd like to highlight two of our sponsors with the Enjoy Life Community Project. I'd like to thank Neptune Pool Supplies at 47 James Boulevard in Port Jeff Station, and a neighbor right across the street, Smith Point Fence at 70 James Boulevard in Port Jeff Station. Thanks so much for your support. You can see our other donors by logging on to the website, enjoylifecommunityproject.org, and clicking on the red bar. I'd also like to mention that the Empower Half Hour is made possible by the Time to Play Foundation, Incorporated, a not-for-profit 501c3 corporation with the mission and purpose to enrich the lives of others through our programs, public awareness, outreach activities, events, and learning opportunities that further the concept of enjoying life. So every week we'll talk about proactive things that each of us can do easily to make every day better and motivate and empower ourselves and each other. And the whole idea in this podcast is people helping people, and we know that collaboration equals success because we're all in this together. So, good evening, Gina. Welcome.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi.
I just want to add to what you said, that collaboration equals success, and we're all in this together, and we're trying to give back. And with the fundraiser, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the businesses in the community to give back to the community. So it's businesses giving back, and all the proceeds are going to go to fund more programs at the Time to Play Foundation. So if there are any businesses out there that would like to, think about maybe sponsoring or making a donation to the event, let one of us know. We'd greatly appreciate, any and all donations, towards this, so that we can, keep doing these podcasts, keep, motivating people in the community, keep educating and, coming up with webinars and seminars and things like that to really, get into the community and help those who need the assistance in any way we can. So,
thanks so much, Gina. That's great. So, getting back to the topic of mixing business and pleasure, I know there's so many more hours and especially women working more today than ever, that we spend, in our work life. So how do we balance, both work and pleasure time without mixing? It's hard to do. And I know that I was speaking to Doreen last week about the topic, just anticipating this podcast. And I was like, oh, my God, I married my boss, and Doreen was like, well, Jim, too. He was my manager at a fast food restaurant. And, we giggled. But it's funny. I was reading. I
don't want to know where I met my husband.
Do you want to share?
No, we met working at Carvel.
Oh, my gosh, how cute. See? And my husband actually owned 2 Carvels when he was 19. So funny. But, yeah, we work. I don't know if you're like me, but, I am attracted to, men in power or just a confident man that knows what he's doing. And I think, these impressions on a young girl can be definitely influential with romance. And for me, I know it evolved by just, talking about different marketing ideas and just thinking, wow, Richie's really smart, and then actually synergizing and, taking them to the people level, and then they were working out. We had a restaurant, and I came on as manager, and, we had a lot of plans, and they came to fruition. It was very successful, and just that energy, really grew from a friendship and a business relationship into, 27 years later, a relationship with longevity. It doesn't always work out that way, though. I was reading some statistics. There was an article in Demand Media by Sophie Johnson, and it highlighted the fact that more women are in the workplace and have longer hours, and, both sexes are being logged into the office hours longer all the time, and romances have increased. And this talks about a survey back in 2013 by Harris Interactive, where it was found that 40% of workers have dated a coworker at some time in their careers. And the good news about that is that 30% of workplace romances, like ours, end in marriage. But the bad news is that 70% fizzle. So, we've listed some possible complications, which included exposure to sexual harassment claims and, a perception of favoritism at times. And then again, there's always that lost productivity and retaliation. And the most danger lies in relationships between superiors and subordinates. There's always that danger when, productivity is on the line and the different roles that we play. But ironically, for the three of us, it did work out in longevity. And I guess it depends on the individual. We're all different. Basically, if we bring out the best in each other, it will have longevity. And, if we're synergizing personally and, in the workforce too, there's that mental stimulation, I think, even if it's like a fast food place, or just sharing ideas, I definitely think that when the attraction and brains are in the mix, it has a duration for longevity. So I guess I'm speaking from personal experience. But, even women with women, I was thinking about, and I wrote this in one of the articles that I posted in Time to Play, that positivity was contagious. Every year for the past 3 years, I've been scoring the Common Core exam. And this year I had a table of incredible women. And we all shared, we brought in, for example, foods from our different cultures, and we just talked about different philosophies. And I think what bonded us all together was our hearts. You know, we all believe in community service, and we just shared a lot. And, you know, when it came to the end, we didn't want, you know, it to end. So, like, you know, we all took phone numbers. We have been planning to get together and haven't since. But, I mean, just knowing that it's going to come again, that we're going to see each other, we're all excited. And it's just an example of how sometimes you don't know who's going to be at your table or,
right.
you know, what's going to happen. But, like, I had to drive to Garden City every day, but I could not wait to get at this table with these women every day. And they all shared that, you know. So it was pretty cool.
Well, I just never. No, I'm sorry. I was just going to agree with that. I think that, you know, so many times you don't really know, you know, where relationships are going to form, how they're going to form, you know, where they're going to come from. And I think at the workplace, you're able to really get to know people and form these really lifelong relationships with people. So I really think, you know, that when you say, you know, should they mix, should business and pleasure mix, I think yes, but you have to just make sure that there are certain, you know, specific boundaries that aren't crossed, of course. But I think that business and pleasure can mix if it's mutually respected. And I think beautiful relationships can form from that because you're with these people, you know, a lot, probably sometimes more than you are with your family. And, you know, to have those relationships at the workplace are tremendous for personal growth, for, I think, for productivity, for just having, you know, that you know, person to, you know, talk to and lean on and maybe complain a little bit with or what have you, whatever it is you're going to do. You know, to have those relationships at work, I think, are important. So.
And also, I was just thinking, I have a best friend in my life that's been best friend for 21 years. And she's 16 years younger than me. But when I had a restaurant in Huntington, she actually was my nail technician. And, you know, she did my nails. But sometimes you could just, you know, open up to people, even in a service situation, and form a bond. And I remember we went on this cruise. We went on this cruise together just because we had great vibes, just talking to each other. And even with me living in Florida for 9 years, now I live 20 minutes away from her here. You know, we still remain the closest of friends. So I guess that's an example of a lifelong relationship, you know, just from a different type of work situation. You know, she was at work. Should you mix, you know, work with your clients? You know, some people say not to do that in the service industry, but, you know, for us, it really worked out. And like you said, Gina, you know, if you do have a mutual respect for each other, and I think intention, you know, is a big factor too. You know what your intentions are. You know, and if you have enough in common to synergize. And like working with my husband, you know, we had this restaurant for 17 years. 12 years were bliss, and 5 were hell. You know, and like I'm just saying, like in the early years, you know, like he had what I didn't have, I had what he didn't have. So, you know, he was more back of the house, I was more front of the house. And people would say to me, my gosh, Stacy, how could you go home with him when he talks to you that way? Because in the kitchen, you know, we had a very busy restaurant. We had amazing reviews from New York Times. It was heavy duty, and we packed. And like, if I needed a table, I'd go into the kitchen, and I'm like, I need table 10 yesterday. And he would be like, over here, table 10. Get the you-know-what out of here. And I would just let it roll right off my shoulders. I learned how to keep, you know, intermezzos and the walk-ins, so I didn't even need to bother them anymore. And I figured out my ways to keep my customers happy and, you know, deal with them. But, like, sometimes you have to let things roll off your shoulders and not take them personally. You know, I think especially a husband and wife team for it to work out until it just gets to the point where you can't anymore, which sort of happened in our case. But, you know, I definitely agree with you that, you know, you can mix business with pleasure if there's respect in the mix. And
you know, absolutely. but then, there is a point where you have to say, okay, business is business. So, yes, we're in a relationship, but, we have to take care of business first. So, and mutually respect that, so I think that's important. Right. Absolutely.
And that lends itself, it's a good point. There was an article that was entitled Stop Mixing Business and Pleasure, and this was written with the Harvard Business Review, and it focused on this advertising sales girl who was really well liked in the community, vivacious, but it suggested that she would, for example, form relationships with her clients, like some would be a mother of a student in her daughter's class, and then her email started to mix with editing ads or billing her clients, and then at the same time writing, I'll see you at the birthday party on Saturday, and things like that.
Right.
So, it was suggested by the Harvard Business Review that 2 separate emails should be sent. One, of course, confirming the birthday party, and then another, requesting a payment. So, there's a fine line, like you said. You really have to, use discretion, and sometimes, I guess, separate church and state a little bit, so to speak.
Yep.
I think that even men, can form relationships. I know there's a lot of golfing that occurs over some huge business deals, and I think sometimes when people are doing something they really enjoy, they can open their mind a little bit. So I think that could be a positive. But there was one article, and I forgot who Obama was playing golf with somebody, Speaker of the House, and then when it came down to business, they had a hard time arguing because they were friends, so there was some tension there. So, it really boils down to the circumstances, how important, what type of business you're conducting, and just using discretion. If you're sensible and you can, separate the issues with discretion, I think that it's beneficial. And there was another article from Forbes magazine, and it highlighted on focusing on the work-life integration instead of work-life balance. So, for example, it was all the mindset. It highlighted that we can stop feeling guilty about scheduling calls during vacations or checking emails at night. And by the same token, we don't have to feel guilty about talking with our spouses or friends and family members during work time. So, if we logically think about it, okay, yeah, boss, I'll pick up your phone call when I'm away on vacation this weekend. But at the same time, if I need to make a phone call during the day, please understand, it works both ways.
Absolutely.
That idea of mixing business and pleasure. And I really like this article. And,
right.
And another thing that it said, it was cool. It was it said becoming less rigid about separating work and non-work hours and becoming more flexible about when and how we accomplish our goals. As long as we communicate it in advance, it really can help us. So I thought of an example of if I have my son in the car and I'm taking him somewhere and it doesn't interfere with the time of whether it's a sporting event or he's in physical therapy right now. And I'm going to the other side of town where I can drop something off to a client. Why do I have to drive separately at another time? If it makes sense to achieve a goal, or it's business sense in terms of time and money, I think that we should be able to mix a little bit in that way, and our family members should have acceptance with that.
No, absolutely. After all, we all are people. We all have we all have families. Some of us may have children, some of us don't, but we all have families. We all have other outside obligations, personal obligations other than work. And it does go both ways. I think that's important to remember. So, driving to your client's house with, your son in the car, or, let's say my daughter in the car, or I have to go see a client and, she has to come with me, it should be acceptable, especially when I'm going to, answer an email at 9 o'clock at night as well. So, like you said, I think that is important. I think that's important to remember and to, try to not beat yourself up about it when, it is difficult to totally separate and maybe totally shut off, the work phone at 5 o'clock. That's sometimes quite difficult to do, especially depending on, the type of business that you're in.
Right, that's a great point, though. Making some healthy boundaries in whatever we do is always helpful. So right. I know that when I do now shut off my phone when I'm having dinner, because, I would tend to just text quickly back, or just got to let her know what time I'm getting there, or just this. People will accept and understand this is the dinner hour, and right. they'll still be there afterwards. And, right. it's respectable boundaries, and we should expect the same from what we give and the same from what we ask, pretty much, like you said. And then, instead of pushing back or feeling resentful when work issues interrupt us, if we can find acceptance, in work issues, that they're a part of life, that can ease the process also. Because, if we do have things that are pending, especially women like you and I who are in sales, and, we do have things that are pending, we can be a little bit more flexible, and the same with our spouses in their business. If we are taking a long drive and we do need to follow up with a phone call, acceptance can set you free, I think, with almost any issue, really. But, just being a little bit more flexible and open-minded, it helps so much. We can get it done. We can still have a great time. We don't need to get hung up on, fighting and power struggles and all that,
Right, absolutely. It's quite funny that we keep going back to the being flexible, because on Tuesday for the business success podcast, we spoke all about how you need to be really, really flexible in business, and you need to kind of bend and move and examine your environment and kind of morph into different things and kind of move with the times and and move with whatever situation you're in. So I think that's a common theme here this week. That's pretty good. So yeah, you definitely need.
Definitely, I apply that all the time, especially with like radio ads. We have a certain PBS format, so you can't do call of action, and I have to structure my ads in a certain way, and I have to please my clients at the same time. So I sort of, got to know my boss now, and I do know how to appease him, and at the same time, I know how to extract a little bit more flexibility out of him. We learn as we form relationships with people, I think that we realize how flexible we can be, just how far we can push, and, our limits and our boundaries. But it makes it easier to communicate with the people around us, And then, I like to keep it positive, but we should always, be aware of, what we talk about and who we share with as well, because another hat that I wear is, I do teach, and now I'm a substitute teacher 2 days a week in a variety of different schools, and there can be, lots of gossip in the faculty rooms. I like to keep to myself. I've learned over the years, especially as a sub when it's not my home base, it's the opposite of my personality, but in those scenarios, I like to just bring a book or accomplish, my emails during that time. I don't really like to get involved because I don't know these people, and it's like a temporary scenario. Where right. Total polar opposite, when I taught for 8 straight years at a private school in South Florida, I met another bevy of lifetime friends that are just amazing women that turn me on to yoga, full moon meditations on the beach, a lot of Zen that I just implemented to continue, my strive for potential in life. And I met these women teaching in school where, like your teamwork effort tonight, we had each other's backs. We covered for each other. We jumped in. We tried to please each other. We got to know each other. So, the faculty room there would be more fun discussing, where we're going to do yoga or where we're going to meet sushi. And so it's like, temporary versus permanent, playing each environment differently, I guess, is what I'm driving at.
Right. No, I agree with you tremendously, because you have to, like, going back to being flexible, you have to be, you can't be the same rigid, person. Sorry, my dog is barking. You can't be the same rigid individual in every situation. You may have to be one way in one situation and another way in another situation, and you have to kind of, feel out that situation, in order to know, what's the best, course of action, or how, you should, react to certain things. And I absolutely would agree with, if you're in a new situation, around new people, you might want to take a step back and, just kind of, keep a little quiet and, see what it's all about first, and kind of maybe, see where you fit in and things like that. I think that's important.
Right. And so, I continue to embrace each thing differently. And then there's, just a quick example, like Doreen and I, we do a lot of foundation work together, and sometimes the phone just rings off the hook. We don't even have enough time to discuss everything that we'd like to. So for the first time, before she went away on vacation, we grabbed a pedicure together, because we figured, okay, 2 birds in one stone. We both need to get this done, and at the same time, we can, knock a few ideas around and get something else accomplished. So multitasking, that's an example of that. But we're going to wrap soon. I always like to throw in a couple of books on the topic at the end of my podcast. Some are fun, some are more serious. But in light of what we were just talking about with flexibility and, being successful in the workplace, there's a book called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Dynamite book. I've read it, and it highlights these 4 agreements. And just real quick, the 4 of them that he highlights are first one is be impeccable with your word. So, just being really clear with what you mean and saying it with truth and love. It can help in all aspects of business and friendship. And the second one is don't take anything personally. When we're immune to others' opinions, then we'll never be a victim. And his third suggestion is don't make assumptions. Always have the courage to ask questions. And the last one is always simply do your best. When we do our best in anything that we do, as long as we know that we gave it our best shot, we'll always avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and most importantly, regret. And then on a guilty pleasure aspect of the subject, there was some books that seemed fun to read, like Mixing Business with Pleasure, Love Conquers All by Cheryl Persons. And then there was a book that seemed lusty called Corporate Affairs, 20 Erotic Workplace Stories by Elizabeth Coldwell. And the article, Stop Mixing Business with Pleasure by Harvard Business Review, I shared some ditties from it this evening, but it was an interesting article and definitely worth doubling back to. So, Gina, I can't thank you enough for coming on with me tonight.
Thank you. My
always
pleasure.
have such great energy. So shine on. I'm sure I'll see you soon. And definitely at the event, if not before.
Oh, yes, definitely before.
All right. Take care. Get back to
Thank you.
spelling. And thank you so, so much. Bye-bye.
No problem.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Recently, Verizon had to use tiny red balls to try to make you think they had a much better network than Sprint. But there's one big thing they left out. The new Sprint LTE Plus network delivers faster download speeds than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. While Verizon seems to be focused on tiny balls, Sprint has been obsessively focused on building the network of the future. And to celebrate, Sprint is cutting their rates in half. Switch to Sprint and save 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile rates. You get the new Sprint LTE Plus network with faster download speeds than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And we'll even cover your cost to switch, up to $650 per line. Only from Sprint. Better for less.
Claim based on Sprint's analysis of average LTE download speeds using Nielsen NMP data. Speeds may vary. Offer coverage not available everywhere. Excludes taxes, surcharges, add-on, and premium content. Subject to new line port activation fee and credit. See website for eligible plans. Savings through 1/8/18 after pay full amount. Restrictions apply. Buy every reward card after online registration and phone turn-in.